All right, people. How y'all doing today? Okay. My name, you can call me Marco, right? But I really prefer to be called Bean. Whatever you feel is comfortable for you, it's not a problem. Okay. Um, Today I'm gonna shoot this short segment to start you off on an understanding about life. Now, mind you, what I'm about to do is I'm gonna take you to a place where you're going to see how we as beings need to naturally think how we supposed to function for ourselves and also take control of our lives like we were supposed to in the beginning, but we wasn't allowed to. Let me tell you where I'm going with this. All right. Things that were said to us, right, in our beginnings, place us in like no man's land. Meaning, when you are birthed, right, you don't know nothing unless you taught something. You ever heard of that? Okay. So by saying that, all of us, a majority of us, if it's not a parent or parents, there's some figure that's in place that are actually around us when the birth of us has begun. So by saying that, right, the leadership is upon the person who's in charge of the birth. So I want you to understand something, right? A being is an entity. It's not a person, place, or thing. So by saying that, right, when you see someone say human beings, think about that word, human beings. If you take the word human out, ask yourself something. Try it yourself. Why is being in the word human being? Now, remember what I'm telling you, right? I want you to understand what I'm explaining to you is you have to allow your mind to absorb the things that you choose to say to yourself about what's realistic and what's not. But at the same time, without picking up a paperback book, I don't care what book it is, even if it's a dictionary, don't pick it up. Allow yourself to absorb what you just said and give yourself time to kind of like figure it out. You're going to find out that the solutions that you're supposed to be able to deal with and resolve and solve is supposed to only come from who? You. So by saying that, do you need somebody necessarily in your ear to tell you something that will give you common sense about how you're supposed to perform for yourself? You have to understand, if you give yourself time to think, right? If you give yourself time to use your thoughts before you start to react, you're going to start to realize there's something formulating there that's kind of warning you or telling you things. But because from your birth, how you was taught, you was never allowed to do that type of thinking because they said the tool of learning is when someone is instructing you. That means someone is teaching you. That's the tool of learning. That's a lie. You have to say to yourself, right? And you have to wonder, do you have the power or the ability to solve your own problems with no one having to help you? You have to, take the time out to do this. Remember, I'm even reaching out to everyone. This video is not for just the mature. It is also for the young adult and the teenager. Why? Because we are all in existence in the same way. But at the same time, we all have this formula. We all have this form of being, because we are all beings. This color doesn't symbolize to anything, okay? When you see them say human being, they don't say black human being, white human being, Spanish human being, or Mongolian. You come up with all these names that they've given us as human beings, right? You have to understand, the deception is that we been given a formula to go by, and that formula that we've been taught is a distraction. Is a distraction from the reality of us having common sense to ourselves. Think about that for a minute. Think about what I'm saying to you. Think about the place that I'm going with you on this small trip, right? The trip is not to cause an illusion of a fake or a fraud to reality. No. It's a realistic method of a natural way of being, okay? Because technically, what we've been taught to do, basically, now, hear me out. I'm going to show you something, right? And I want you to understand what I show you. Look at the title of what I'm going to show you, and that's going to tell you how things that's being presented to you creates a phony reality of what they want you to understand, what life can be when it's being shown to you. You see this book? I haven't read it. I'm not going to. But look at the name on this book. Right? Understand this. This book has been written by somebody. Okay? By looking at this book and the title of it, it's giving you a description, is giving you an idea of how you're supposed to take the content of that book and you're supposed to make it your reality. The craziest thing, right, is that there was an old saying, right? Most of us who are probably either my age or older or close to it, right? You ever heard the word, a mind's a terrible thing to waste? Because they used to say that on the regular. And it is a terrible thing to waste. Oh, a terrible thing to waste, right? But the way they did it was they told you you need to read in order for you to have information. That's not true. The crazy thing is that we've been presented with computers, right? And smartphones and stuff like that. Devices that give us an idea about how if we don't understand something, we could just with our fingers and it'll show us what we need to know. So explain this to me. How do they present you with a device, right? That supposedly do all of that, right? But yet does everything. You see what I just did? They presented to us a device that's supposed to do our thinking when we type on the computer or use the touch tone on your phone, right? Which is supposed to help us on information. But once again, this right here has that and then some. Every time they present us with something, they take us away from our natural way of living. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is that we, as beings, need to take the time out to think out the things that we need to know coming from oneself, right? And the crazy part is that it's the easiest thing to do. You know, you take time out in your day, like for instance, these devices that they gave us, I'm pretty sure you have read the instructions and seen the videos and stuff, but they tell you for a cell phone, right? They says every day towards the end of your day, you are to turn off your cell phone and turn it back on. They call that a reboot, right? And for a computer, you can leave it on all day, but they kind of tell you every now and then, turn it off and turn it back on. Because that's a way for a system reboots itself. Now, being that I told you that, right? Why doesn't the average person take the time out, right? Find a place. You could do it at your job. You could do it at home. You could do it in the bathroom. You could do it anywhere. Shut down, right? But don't close your eyes. Stop thinking. Don't wander. Don't put your mind on a particular thing. Just blank out. In other words, don't think, don't do nothing. Just sit still, right? And upon you doing that, you're going to notice that you, in that particular time, is emptying out your mind, and everything that you're doing is going to be placed right in front of you for that moment. And the reason why it's going to be placed in front of you that moment is because you're not thinking right now. You're just in the pause point where you just not doing nothing, not reacting, not moving or nothing. You're just sitting still. It's almost like relaxing, but you're not sleeping. When you turn around and you see all the things that you do in your life, or things you start to see in front of you that you kind of being responsible to yourself, you're going to find out that each one of those things you're doing is the guideline of you leading your life into those situations where this is the only thing you're supposed to be doing, and it's not true. You have to understand, do you really think that we was birthed to function the way we are functioning right now? I mean, honestly, let's be real for a minute. I mean, I understand I'm kind of taking you to a certain place where I'm telling you to do something that's like, it sounds natural, but it might be a little psychological. No, it's not psychological. It's just an opportunity that you give to yourself. You owe yourself that. To turn around and not have to pick up nothing, not have to listen to no one, not have to watch anything, not have to follow. But yet you think to yourself and you see what yourself tells you. It's crazy, right? But I'm telling you, this is not a nutso type of conversation. This is not no tool to say you're nuts. No. This is a way of me, the being, right? expressing to you that these are the things I think that now is the time that all of us need to do for ourselves, so we can actually see what is it like for us to actually do things without no instructions. You ever heard this old saying, me, myself, and I? You had to in your lifetime. You had to have heard that saying, me, myself, and I. Listen to that. Me, myself, and I. Wow. That's actually three people in one. That's actually talking about three people in one. Me, myself, and I. It's crazy. I mean, I'm not going to hit you with everything right now because I believe I have the patience and the time to give you video by video of what I'm talking about, in the sense of how we need to function and the understanding of the purpose of what the being's supposed to know of self. But at the same time, if you notice, I haven't talked about no authors. I haven't given you no quotes. I may have made a statement of saying something similar to like me, myself, and I, but it's to tell you how certain things is being said to us and we not realizing it's talking only about us. But the trickery about that situation is that they're giving us this type of conversation, and it's called trickery. I'm telling you the purpose of yourself, but you're not going to believe me because everything I have you doing is by information without you having to think only but what I tell you to do. That's crazy. That means that through your life, you can't do nothing without somebody telling you something. Does that sound right? No. When you was in birth, right? Think about it for a minute. When you was in birth, you didn't know nothing. You wasn't even formulated yet. You're still in development. But the one thing that occurs under this development is that the hearing starts. The mind, which is the brain, the heart, and the sound. And what happens when you happen to be in that birth stage? You're trying to listen and ear hop everything that's going on. And the crazy thing is that majority of times when a child is being developed into birth, you don't need no book to know this, but everything or every sound that is being heard is actually doing the development of the brain structure of the child. Yes, because sound is the most important thing. Because why? Sound is a listening tool. Sound is a listening tool for all of us, to where we formulate whatever that sound is, we actually create it from the mind. Okay? We create it from the mind. So technically, we don't have to be on point about exactly what that sound is. But how we formulate it in our minds as an adolescent is the most beautiful thing. Because why? Those sounds are like waves. And those waves trigger certain things that helps us to develop so we could come out as what? As human beings. So by saying that, once again, I'm gonna say this to you. We as beings, I'm not gonna say human beings, I'm gonna say beings. We as beings need to take the time out to focus on ourselves. But when we focus on ourselves, we don't focus on ourselves through information from others. And what I mean by others, I'm gonna show you this again. This is from others. Books, illustrations, magazines, paperbacks, the news. That is others. Am I telling you to totally block out the world? No, I'm not telling you to do that. Let's be realistic. I'm not telling you to do that. What I'm asking you to do, right? And these videos are going to lead to more structure on how you can develop yourself into that place, is that you need to take the time out to think for self. And thinking for self means you actually listen to yourself when you are speaking, because we all have that consciousness. Well, we hear a voice in our head talking to us. No, you're not nuts. That's called your conscience. Your conscience is talking to you. They told you some word about guilty conscience. See what I mean? They stuck something in front of what was a reality. Conscience is a reality. Guilty? Guilty of what? You can't be guilty of anything unless it was shown or it was displayed for you to copy. And we all know that when we grew up, we done seen more than enough stuff that gave us an illustration of how things could look bad or good, or we could do bad or good things and be faulted by it, but either have a concern about it, or don't care. And where does it lead us? To a lot of bad places. Sure, because these are other avenues that they place us in, that when we don't have control of our state of mind, we follow how we being instructed. We're following how we being instructed. So I want you to understand that the development of the mind comes from what? It comes from when you can think for yourself. No. Now, don't quote me on this. I'm just saying for you to have understanding. They taught us how we're supposed to learn things. And part of us learning, we grow up to and have to be schooled, which is actually a training period where we're given the opportunity to learn how to use the methods that's being shown to us to live out our lives. But you have to say to yourself, remember I told you, see how I'm saying this? I didn't tell you to throw that away. I only told you to think out how things are being presented to you. Think it out. They're showing you they're showing you certain things on how you're supposed to live. But at the same time, why is it that you can't do what you're supposed to do for yourself and be able to live free without having to have no worries? Think about that. Because the important part is that when you start to think that out and you start to understand that you starting to solve your own problems by actually giving yourself time to think, you're gonna be able to separate the two and understand one is being falsified to coexist in the world that you're being presented, and the other is called the natural state. A natural state means you're actually doing your own problem solving, and at the same time you're functioning according to how you want to exist. Sounds crazy, right? But it's something that we as beings need to understand. These are one of our these are one of the things that we can secretly do that causes us not to have any problems, trauma, or dilemma, or dismay on how we supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Because this right here is one of the most important tools that we have. But what we were told while we were growing, that we're supposed to receive the information so we can actually use it to think. That's not true. The information is already being processed here, and it's trying to go to the rest of our body for us to function as what? As one. You know what I'm saying? You know, everyone has to see things for what it's worth. We get sick, we go to the hospital. You know what I'm saying? We want to get a checkup, see if we physically fine. We go see the doctor. You know what I'm saying? It's like we do these things, right? But these are the things that was instructed for us to do. But in reality, one of the greatest things of all time is that the human body is a functioning cell, right? A functioning organism that can actually withstand anything that is being presented to. Anything that's trying to come to, we have the greatest defense of all times. But there are certain things that we end up doing that takes the mind in a different place. We don't believe that. So what happens when we don't believe? We follow as we do. In other words, we were trained and taught to follow after what was taught to us, and that's supposed to be the better way of life. And in reality, it's not. If you put your life in someone's hands, right, what makes you think that person is going to care about your life even though they have it in their hand? What makes you think that they're going to care? The only caring and concern is supposed to be for oneself. That's right. So by saying that, we have to believe that our existence come from us, and us need to see that we can actually do what's necessary for oneself. You know what I'm saying? Oneself, oneself, oneself. So, right now, I'm gonna pause here, right? And this is like an editorial. Like this is a beginning stage. Excuse me for saying it the wrong way, but this is the beginning stages of how I'm going to be having my videos directed towards you, and I hope that everybody gets an opportunity to watch this video, because there's going to be more, and there's going to be different topics that I'm gonna aim at, but the topics is not going to be and then I'm not here to attack people. I'm not here to demoralize people. I'm also not here to take certain situations and then tear it down. No, the only thing I'm here for is the being. And guess who the being is? Is you. So by saying that to you, right, for me to you, is that I'm speaking out to see if I can give an opportunity for anyone to listen to what I'm saying, to take the opportunity for themselves to understand what self is, what self means, and how self is supposed to exist to self. Understand? So, I'm going to leave you with that thought. I'm going to run this video publicly. And the natural being, okay, name is Marco, but I would like for you to call me the natural being. This is my first video that I'm giving, and there will be more. And I appreciate the fact that you took the time out to watch it. And I'm going to actually continue, but it's going to be different stages for various videos. In other words, I'm gonna have certain topics that I'm gonna talk about, so you have an understanding how all of it is going to coincide with itself about you. So for now, people, I want you to take in what I just said and look for the next video, and stay tuned, because there's more to come. because every being needs to be woken. Take it easy, folks. Have a nice one.